Hey everyone, Mr. Hub 996. Do a follow-up video. I haven't done one of these in a very long time, and kind of lost interest in YouTube for a while. And now, out of the blue, my subscriber count is climbing. I'm not making any real videos or any content. Somebody's watching it, so it's kind of pushed me back into doing some kind of reviews and some kind of video content for the people that are subscribing. So today's video is going to be on the Hatsan 12 gauge Bullpup shotgun. Just a quick review, tabletop style, some basic information on the gun. It's a Turkish made shotgun made by Hatsan, or imported for Hatsan from Turkey. It's a $400 shotgun. It's very cheap entry level, especially for a Bullpup, and I'll get into some of the reasons as to why that is. Start with basic features. It is a standard Bullpup shotgun. Another thing that's interesting is how well balanced it is for a 12 gauge. It's not very heavy. They use a lot of polymers. It comes with two 5-round box mags, and from the factory it also has this carry handle. Fits on the gun like this. The carry handle has integrated peep sights like an AR-15. It's a very short radius. It's probably great for personal defense or home defense. My eyesight not being the best, I opted to pull the rail off and put a primary arms red dot sight. It works very, very well with the red dot. I've actually done a couple trap meets at the Rod and Gun Club that I belong to and had very good success busting clays. This does as good as a Remington 870 Wingmaster that I've had for years. So there's no discernible difference between the two, other than this thing's lighter and it's actually quite easy on the shoulder. I guess because of it being semi-auto. The gas and the buffer system that it uses eats a lot of the recoil that you normally feel in your shoulder. I'll go ahead and get into some disassembly here and some talking points of it. One of the themes you'll see quite often in this is there's a lot of design elements of other firearms in here, but they've borrowed heavily off of the AR-15 as far as the fire control group and the way the gun operates. There's a lot of similarities that you'll see. I'm going to start by trying to break the gun down a little bit and give you an idea of how it works. There's a barrel shroud that has to be screwed off. The barrel shroud, the end here is knurled, and just inside of the edge here there's a ball detent that catches that knurling, so it helps hold this on positively once it's engaged. Okay, that is empty. Another thing is the gun points is weighted very easily. I can easily shoot this thing one-handed and have done it in one of my videos when I first got the gun playing around with it. Captured pins, like what you would see on the AR-15. I mean, there's a lot of other firearms that use it as well, but there's other things you'll see here that make you say, oh, yeah, that is kind of like an AR-15. Top receiver comes off. Okay, so here, slide the charging handle back in. correctly. Yeah, this thing's filthy. I haven't bothered to clean it, but the way the gas system works, this is your barrel. There's an op rod here that goes back to the bolt, much like you see on, let's say, like a pump action. But once you pull the op rod back, the slide collar here operates like a gas piston. And around the barrel here, you have gas ports that are kind of go to the angle like jets. The cone here, the collar, is tapered so the jets push it backwards against the op rods for the bolt face. So when you pull the trigger, the shell fires and pushes forward. The gases push against the cone, cause the cone and bolt to cycle back. Once it bottoms out, it travels back forward, chambering your next round. It's a very simple but effective gas-operated system for a shotgun. I've never seen one quite like it before, but it functions and functions well. One thing I did notice was with this gun, there was a break-in period. A couple hundred rounds. Firing really hot ammo. This is Black Ace's tactical buckshot. The advertised velocity. A second here. Here we go. (1,425 feet per second). So the gun likes hot ammo. As the gun breaks in, all the parts wear and seat together. It starts to function better with cheaper ammo or slower ammo. Cheap birdshot, low brass stuff. When I first got the gun, probably every magazine I have, another thing, the gun comes with 2 5-round magazines. Every magazine with birdshot would be 1 or 2 fails to fire, no fails to feed. The only issue was just almost like the firing pin was sluggish. It would hit, but it really wouldn't have the energy to set the round off. Reach up, manually rack it, fire the next round. In a 5-round magazine, I might have 1 or 2 fails to feed. I might have 2 out of 5. The other thing is 10-round Pro Mags. The magazines are for the M1919 shotgun. So any M1919 patterns magazine will work with the gun. I wasn't sure how I was going to like this because of the way the magazine sticks down. But honestly, it looks kind of ridiculous. But the magazine really does not get in the way of function. The Pro Mags I've had 0 problems with. The more I've shot the gun, at this point I've probably got 700 or 800 rounds through it. Now, birdshot kind of flawless. I'll go 2 or 3 10-round magazines, and I might have 1 fail to fire. Usually I kick that shell out, pick it back up later, and run it through the gun a second time. Usually the second time they'll go ahead and fire. Shooting skeet. I have noticed that occasionally you have 1 misfire. The gun just won't ignite the cartridge. Just reach up, rack the round, and keep on going. I think the gun still, it's mostly broken in now, but with time it'll get better and become more reliable. Let's see here. Let's see if I can separate barrel in action out of the lower receiver, because to me the lower receiver is really kind of interesting. Now they're all out. There we go. Okay, so there's the entire upper action, the bolt. See if we can make it. Recoil springs here. There's no buffer tube. It's kind of reminiscent like a AR 180. Gun's filthy. What I want to show is the trigger bar. Okay, you have a traditional AR hammer and trigger, where they would normally have the hammer and sear assembly here. That has been, the trigger bar has been moved to back here. Pull this off. Okay, so the trigger bar runs back, and back here you'll see the traditional AR style trigger assembly. The hammer is slightly different. I think the only reason why it's slightly different is just because it's Turkish. There's polymer used all over the gun, places that I'm not used to seeing polymer. The feed ramp is polymer. The entire lower is polymer. There's a lot of rough casted edges, things that I'm used to seeing better quality out of, but at the same time, it works, and for $400, you can't expect a whole lot. There's your safety, just like on an AR, that goes over the trigger bar. So the gun borrows heavily from several other firearms, but most notably, and probably because the cheapness and availability of parts, it borrows heavily from the AR-15 platform. The stock. I'm killing this. The pistol grip looks like a standard AR pistol grip. Bolt that holds it in place, do just like a standard A2. I haven't tried it, but I'm fairly certain that you could replace the trigger group, hammer, and the pistol grip with off-the-shelf AR-15 parts. If they don't drop in directly, I'm sure there's not much modification would be needed to make them work. All right, let's reassemble here. Slide together. Okay. The barrel retaining collar here has a set screw that orients it into the stock to set your orientation. The ball detent is machined into that. So when you put it back together, you have to make sure that that ball detent is facing up, that set screw is facing down to lock it into the stock. Then your barrel shroud charging handles ambidextrous. You can put it to either side of the gun. It also uses a ball detent to hold it in. There's a couple slots here. So no matter which way you spin it, flip it, work it, it should lock into the gun with no problems. Yeah. There's a few weird features that make no sense other than, I guess, because gun designers that are making this out of Turkey, they don't, I think they're trying to mimic what's cool. So for some reason, the rail space is all polymer. The very back where it interfaces with the upper, this part back here where the action is that actually would contain a blast, say if you had a shell detonate out of battery. This is all metal. So right where the metal rail meets the plastic for Picatinny, that's where I chose to mount my optic to give it some rigidity and have it attached to the receiver rather than the plastic shield. Their choice of fasteners, a lot of Phillips screws and nuts that are captive in the plastic, remind you of a High Point. It's not a bad thing, it's just a cheaper option. It works, it's functional, but it just kind of makes you scratch your head. You know, they could have used the same setup and used captured Allen heads as opposed to Phillips. For $400, you know, I really can't be overly critical. Another weird design element, I was talking about things that don't make sense. Molded into the plastic of the upper have key mod slots that look like key mod, but they're just the imprint. There's two Picatinny rails on either side here that rise out off the frame. They're not a problem, but they just make you wonder why. Adjustable cheek rests. Loosen the set collar. Use it quite a bit. And you can adjust the cheek weld to fit how you want the gun to fit to your face and conform to your body. I don't see the use or function for it. Maybe it's because I'm using a red dot, but I never adjust it. It just stays in the bottom position. The gun also came with a QD sling loop on either side of the shotgun and one swivel. It's very soft shooting. I mentioned before that I've got some video clips of me shooting a gun, and at one point I'm actually shooting with one hand. I raise the other hand up so you can clearly see the video that I'm shooting one-handed. So real quick and dirty, that is the Hatsan VTS Bullpup 12 gauge shotgun. It's also available in 410. Honestly, with the price of 410 shotgun shells compared to 12 gauge, the added punch you get with 12 gauge, and it really, really is a soft shooting 12 gauge. I'm not sure why you would want 410. It's a great option. I actually thought about getting it for my kids, but after shooting a few times, I just don't see a good reason to spend the extra money on a 410 shotgun when for the same price you can get 12 gauge, and 12 gauge ammo is a lot more plentiful here stateside and less expensive than what 410 is. So, hope this was a helpful video. Any questions, leave a comment, and I'll try and watch the comment section and answer whatever questions I can. Thank you.